Welcome, welcome to today's new webinar from AVSIA with some stellar panelists and moderators today. Thank you so much for making the time and for joining us. We have a quite timely topic once again, talking about impacts of the war in Ukraine and of COVID in general, and all the consequences that this has had on supply chains. We'll have some experts from the field share their inputs and their expertise with us on the topic. And I'm very, very pleased to welcome everybody once again for this event. Before I hand over the words to our moderator of the day, I would like to, as usual, if you follow us on a regular basis, I would like to share a few housekeeping items. This is, as I said, the topic of the day: war in Ukraine and COVID aftermath, uncertainties and opportunities in the solar industry in Africa. Word of housekeeping. As you know, of course, the full presentations and the recordings will be shared after the event. And also, I remind you on the fact that you have a few buttons in your Zoom toolbars. And there's really like 3 important buttons for you. Button number 1 is the chat option. This is really for you to communicate with everybody else on this webinar today. If you want to say hi, if you want to quickly explain what you do, if you want to connect with people, albeit virtually, this is really the place where you want to do this. On the other side, you have the Q&A option. This is really what you need to use if you have a question for one of our speakers. It really centralizes everything in a nice and smooth way. So please use that function and submit your question anytime. Some of the questions will be addressed during the presentation. Some other questions will be addressed at the end during the longer conversation. And also, if there is anything else, any small technical issue, anything I can help with, then you can click on raise hands and I will take care of you from there. So this is it for the housekeeping, and I want to introduce our moderator today, Gurmeet Kaur. Gurmeet is calling us from Dubai today. Gurmeet is a partner at Pinsent Masons with some extensive experience in legal practice and specifically expert on the topic of energy and solar energy. Before Pinsent Mason, Gurmeet has worked with several other very large global law companies, Evershed, DLA Piper, and really the focus, and I'm sure Gurmeet will further develop on this in a few moments, advising public and private clients on infrastructure and energy projects, but really with a particular focus on renewable energy. This is why, Gurmeet, I'm so happy to welcome you today. Thanks so much for accepting the invitation. We've known each other for my years in Dubai, and it's really a great pleasure to host you today for an Africa-specific discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, John, for that very nice introduction. It's a real pleasure of mine to be here today, and I'm very excited to be moderating this panel on a very timely topic. As John had said, today we will be looking at the war in Ukraine and the COVID aftermath and its impact. And we will be talking a bit more in detail in the panel discussion, looking at the impact from a logistics perspective, financial impact, and also legal impact. Before I get onto the panel, I just would like to say a few words about Pinsent Masons itself, for those of you who don't know us. So yes, that slide, thank you. So Pinsent Masons is a global law firm. We practice in a variety of sectors. You see on the slide our 5 main sectors that we practice in, and energy and infrastructure are 2 the main sectors that we focus on. The firm itself has been in operation since 1769, so a very long time, and we operate in various parts of the world. As you can see, 28 locations over 4 continents, and also you would see on the right-hand side that we have won a number of awards around the globe for our work, in particular in energy and infrastructure. Next slide, please. So this is a few more things about the firm. It gives you a little bit of the background on the offices that we have. We are based throughout the globe, and we are actually one of the largest UK-based law firms in the top 5, and also the 33rd largest globally. And one of our key distinctions is we've been recognized as one of the most progressive and innovative law firms in the world. Next slide, please. The key to our strength is, of course, our people, and we have over 3,000 odd people, 450 odd partners, and over 1,500 lawyers. And these are located in our offices throughout the world. We cover most of the continent apart from the US. And in the US, we work with, our law firm best friends in the US. Next slide, please. This shows you a bit more graphically where we are based. And as John said, I come from the Middle East. I'm based in Dubai. And in the Middle East, we have offices also in Doha and Riyadh. But we service the Middle East with our network of local law firms. And similarly, in Africa, we're based in Johannesburg, but we service the African continent through our offices in London, in Paris, and also in the Middle East. And we also have a very extensive network of connections and deep alliances with various law firms in the various jurisdictions in Africa. So we have done a number of African projects, in particular in solar, but also other forms of renewable. Next slide, please. And as John mentioned, one of our key practice areas is renewable energy. And within that, we advise the whole spectrum of players in this industry. So developers, contractors, government, procurers, suppliers, funders, and we also cover different types of technology within this space. So we do solar PV, CSP, we also do wind projects, waste to energy, hydro, and more recently, hydrogen projects. And we've also done some landfill gas to energy project. And we advise in the various stages of the development. So from the very beginning, from your feasibility stage, we help with the legal due diligence and things like that, right up to the closure of the projects. And also beyond that, during the implementation phase, we advise on claims and disputes. And we get, the various practice groups involved. So corporate services, real estate services, projects and finance, etc. And I think this is the last slide, if I'm not mistaken, John. Yeah, and so that's a little bit of a summary about Pinsent Masons. And obviously, I'll be happy to answer anyone's questions if you've got any queries about what we can offer in terms of legal services. And with that, I would like to now turn to our distinguished panelists. And I'd like to first introduce our panelists from LONGi Solar, Mr. Emike Wosu. Emike has over 10 years experience in the energy industry, and his expertise ranges from PV modules to business developments and sales. And he's obviously very passionate about electrifying Africa and has education in receiving an MBA from the University of the Free State. And next from LONGi as well is Mr. Tang Wen, and he's the Logistics Senior Manager, China. Tang Wen also has 10 years experience in logistics and supply delivery management. He's worked with ZTE Corporation in telecoms and IT, and he's responsible for the logistics business for the EMEA region. Next, our panelists from AMT, Rena Sanders. She's the Business Development Manager for South Africa, and she has over 7+ years of experience in renewable energy. She's currently expanding her knowledge through studying towards an NQF Level 3 national certificate. And her primary focus in AMT is to create and establish long-term relationships. And she has also a degree in HRM from Demelin. And we've got another speaker also from SegenSolar, who is Paul Duperez. He's the commercial manager for South Africa. And he's got about 9 years experience in renewable, interested in progressing waste management strategies and also to develop the circular initiatives. He has solid foundation in sales, operations, and project management with an emphasis on decentralized solar. And his focus is on solar PV generation and energy storage solutions within South Africa and targeting the South African market. And I think last but not least, we've got Mr. Michael Lappin, who is the Sales and Operation Manager in South Africa, also from SegenSolar. And he joined SegenSolar in 2019 with extensive experience working with the sales, financial, and stockholding aspects of the company in Kenya. And he has knowledge of local markets, and he's responsible for the direct management and development of the Cape Town office, as well as engaging in market research. So that's a brief overview, and I'd like to now invite firstly Mr. Mike, who's going to do a small presentation on his company. So Mike, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Umet. And thank you very much, Afsia, for the invitation once again for LONGi to participate in this event. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'll just quickly do an introduction of LONGi. And then, like Gomit said, my colleague here also from the logistics team is there. So he will do the back end of this introduction. So LONGi is a global solar technology company. We currently #1 model manufacturer in the world, and here we just want to show you a brief summary of our company, some of the financials so far. You can see quite strong balance sheet. And the last couple of years, we've had some good, I'll say, geometric growth in the solar model market. So we have over 60,000 employees, and what is interesting is that we about the only solar model company in the world that invests up to 10% of our revenue in R&D. In terms of our track record, we started in 2000, and we started as from the wafer side of the market. So currently, LONGi holds about 40% of the global wafer market. And from 2000 right through to about 2014, when we got entered into the model solar PV model market, we've made some big strides since then till date. Between 2014 to till date, we've grown from #7 in the global ranking to #1. And you can see some of the milestones here that the model business unit have achieved over the years. Currently, our mainstream technology is the monoprec technology. We've always been a monoprec technology company, and we've led in terms of the optimization of the efficiency of the cell. Look at the doping of the cell, for example, and also with regards to the diamond cutting that increases efficiency, because customers always are looking at paying less for high efficiency. Last year in 2021, LONGi invested in and started a hydrogen business unit. This just shows how strong we are in the PV model value chain. So you can see beyond once you leave the raw material stage and the production of the polysilicon for the ingot stage, which is the stage, right through the module stage, LONGi is vertically integrated. So this also gives comfort to our customers that at least we have some leverage across the supply chain. In terms of our footprint around the world, we're a global company headquartered in China. We have 9 manufacturing facilities spread out across China. And it's interesting to note that our manufacturing facilities are not concentrated in one region. It is decentralized. So that also we found was very helpful during the COVID lockdown period. Our module capacity is 65 gigawatts a year. We shipped about 38 gigawatts last year, which is the highest in the world. Our wafer capacity is over 100 gigawatts. And so you can see some of our the share, our market share in terms of our market share is about 18%, but our module capacity is the highest in the market. In terms of our products, we have 2 main products, the HIMO 4 and HIMO 5, but I'll just focus on the HIMO 5 here because of time. And it comes in a monofacial and bifacial. So this just shows the roadmap around the power roadmap between now and 2023. So currently we're sitting about 555 watts on the monofacial and 550 on the bifacial. And in terms of our energy generation, we have 2% in the first year degradation and 0.45 from the bifacial from second year to the year 30, and 0.55% from on the monofacial from second year to year 25. Just lastly on my side, in terms of bankability, which is a very important point in the topic in the market, choosing your supplier and making the right decisions. LONGi has been ranked the only AAA model manufacturer by PV Tech, which is a third-party reputable institution. And we've been on that position for the past couple of years, past three to 4 years. And we also, from the solvency metrics, we've ranked over 1.8, which basically means that your supplier is going to be there during the life of your project. If it's a PPA project, we are there and we are able to stand behind our warranty commitments to the contract. That said, I will then hand over to my colleague Tang, and quickly just give his input. Over to you, Tang.
Okay, thank you, Emeka, and thank you, Akomi, for the introduction introduced for me, and thank you, everyone. It's my pleasure to join this webinar. I will give a short presentation about our logistic in Africa. Okay, and as Emeka introduced, our headquarters in Xi'an. It's in the middle of China, but due to our factory supplies the modules to the overseas, mainly located in the eastern of China. So mainly our original port, export port, is located in Shanghai or Ningbo. And for nowadays, our logistic networks can cover the main ports in Africa, such as in South Africa, the Durban and the Cape Town is already covered. And we are mainly providing the services from the original port to the destination port. And now we cooperate with the top carriers and the top freight forwarders in the world, such as the Costco, Maersk, and DB Schenker, and so on. Okay, please move to the next. And for nowadays, I think for our LONGi logistics team, we have our advantages, and nowadays due to the COVID and the wars, we also facing some challenges. And for the advantages, such as for now, as I just mentioned, our vessel routes can cover the main port, all the main ports in the Africa to fit with our customers' requirements. And also that is the same in the all over the world, and like in Europe, United America, United States, something like that. And for our cooperators, is mainly we are now cooperate with our directly cooperations with the shipping lines, means the carrier. That is more easier for us to getting enough resources for us. But for the cooperation with the shipping lines, we always need some stable volumes And so we also have the freight forwarders to providing us the supplement demand. And also because we have already we are already served for our customer in Africa for a long time, so we have the experience for all kinds of the certifications in Africa, because as we know, in different countries in Africa, they have different import documents requirements. So, and we can provide in the solutions to our customers. And as we know, since 2020, we are facing the COVID-19, and which is affecting the logistic March. So the affecting is mainly in such as unstable sailing schedules, which is both in the original port and the destination port. And the export in China have been increased since 2020, and that's causing the lack of the shipping space, because the volumes have increased a lot, but the space increase, the speed of the increase of the space is lower. And for last year, we also facing some problems of the lacking of the containers. Sometimes we can get the space, but we don't have containers to loading our modules. And also the congestion of the port, which is normal in all over the world right now. And then everyone knows the sea freight have been increased a lot since the COVID-19. And then also, in China, the government have strictly COVID policies in China mainland. And so in this kind of case, we were facing the problems to making the deliveries from the factory to the port. And for the legal impacts and the local rules, as I just mentioned, in different countries in Africa, they have different requirements of the certifications and the import documents. And so sometimes some countries, they need to registering the information in advance before the arrival or before the clearance. So these are the challenges to us to supporting our customer. And please go to the next. And for the next, I think is the part everyone maybe is interested, because this is I'm showing a freight index, which summarized by some structures. And as you can see from I need to say this is just the index, it's not the price, okay? And since the 2020, after the COVID-19, the freight is almost increased like 5 to 8 times before the COVID. After 2020, after January of 2022, the trend have go a little bit lower down, but as the expectation from our procurement team, this trend maybe will go flat in the near future, because actually for some of the carriers, they have doing something like the price management. Okay, that's all for my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to now invite AMT, but could I please ask that you keep the presentation really short, because so that we have enough time to then take questions and also have a meaningful discussion. So no more than 3 to 4 minutes, please. Can I invite Rina, please?
Hi, Gurmeet. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. We definitely look forward to have an informative discussion regarding all the topics on hand.
You may go ahead and share your presentation, Rina.
Thank you. Okay, so let me just skip quickly. At a glance, before I delve into our profile, I am joined by my colleague, Joseph Dos Santos, who is the branch manager at AMT South Africa in Durban. He will be assisting me with regards to all the topics that are up for discussion. So advanced maritime transports, at a glance, we have 22 offices in over 10 countries, as well as partner companies in a further 100 countries. We have freight volumes handled thus far, it's well over 650,000 tons, as well as over 600 vessels. Core activities within advanced maritime transports is your end-to-end logistics, marine services, as well as personnel support services, which I will get more into that as we go along with the slides. This is our global presence at a glance, and we operate various parts of the world but with a strong emphasis in Africa. We have a very large footprint within Africa. This just basically shows you geographically where our offices are situated in dark blue, and marked in light blue, that is where our partner agents are situated. Advanced maritime transports follows QHSE standards. We believe that whether it is a government-funded project or private sector project, QHSE standards are of utmost importance. And these standards, as well as ISO regulations, forms part of all our other companies. For instance, not just in South Africa, but whether we have offices in Mozambique, Angola, or Zambia, all our offices adhere to QHSE standards. We are all triple ISO certified, which is your quality management, health and safety management, as well as environmental management. This slide is basically just a list of compliance, which AMT adheres to: code of conduct, anti-corruption, anti-bribery, trade regulations, GDPR, as well as trace training. The AMT Group has always had a voluntary approach to corporate social responsibility. Member of the United Nations Global Compact on Human Rights, Environment and Anti-Corruption since 2019. The AMT Group is committed in its daily actions to respect the 10 principles of the Global Compact and to support them in its regulations with any stakeholders, always in the aim of a sustainable and responsible development. The AMT Group takes measures to promote the local development of the territories where it is implemented. So for the sake of time, I will be discussing our 4 regional hubs in the next slide. As you can see, this is a breakdown of our 4 regional hubs: our global logistics services, which falls under AMT Switzerland, United Kingdom, as well as Singapore. And below that is basically your coordination of in-country operations, shipping agencies, personnel support services, chartering, bunkering, the list goes on. West Africa falls under Cameroon and Ghana, and these are all where our offices are physically situated. Central Africa, it's Angola, which falls under Congo, as well as the DRC. Southeast Africa, which is Mozambique, South Africa, and Uganda. Within South Africa, you get our offices in Johannesburg, Cape Town, as well as Durban. But then as also Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Kenya, Namibia, Zambia, Malawi, apologies for that, Mauritius, Botswana, as well as Madagascar. I've had a brief discussion with regards to our agents in well over 100 countries. Joining forces, AMT and partners are all in a position to handle turnkey project solutions and supply customers with door-to-door services worldwide and ad hoc solutions based on long-term proven experience. This is just a brief overview of our control tower solutions, the benefits to our clients. The client will receive AMT corporate sponsor. Under that umbrella, you get your end-to-end logistics, personnel support services, marine agency, as well as bunkering and chartering. However, we do offer a single point of contact, a link between the client and the local AMT subsidiary and partner agent, KPI review and analysis as well. Our presence, again, at a glance, but I've already touched on this. On the services we provide, just to go a bit more into that, we offer project management, origin services, international freight, destination services, handling port cargo, chartering of air and sea, marine agency, and personnel support services. Under personnel support services, what we offer our clients, if I can move it over to the next slide.
Rena, just because we're running short of time, could you please wrap it up so I can then ask Segen to make a brief introduction, if you don't mind?
Not a problem. So personnel support services, we provide supply chain optimization, door-to-door transportation and inland logistics services, whether they require permits, whether they require accommodation or transportation to and from the project site. AMT can handle all of that within one umbrella. So that's about it from my side. I've touched on all these other points. So due to time constraints, I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much, Rena. Appreciate that. And last but not least, I'd like to invite SegenSolar for a very brief introduction. If you could please just keep to 2-3 minutes, because we need to allow enough time as well for the discussion to follow. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Once again, thank you for the opportunity to be part of this event. Just give me a sec while I share this with you. My name is Paul de Vries, as introduced, and I'm the commercial manager for SegenSolar. And joining me today in support of our contribution is Michael Lappin. I'll get through this as quickly as I can. So SegenSolar, in a nutshell, looking at who we are, we're a global distributor and wholesaler of photovoltaic solutions. We pride ourselves in being efficient, reliable, and knowledgeable throughout the group. A brief look at our history. The company was set up and established in the UK in 2004. 2015 was a busy year for us. We acquired a UK distributor named Zenex. We introduced our reseller brand of trade accounts. We also set up and established our company in Germany, operating in Germany and Benelux. And the local company in South Africa was set up in 2015. 2016 saw the launch of our Cape Town office, which is where Mike is based. In 2020, we expanded our German footprint for supply into Poland. 2021 saw our new warehouse facility opening up in the East Rand and KZN in South Africa. And in 2021, Labora Global acquired Segen and Soligent. So we're very excited about the future as a result of this acquisition. And in 22, we opened our new warehouse facility in the Eastern Cape area, operating out of Quebeca. A look at our group presence. In the UK, we have colleagues in Bolton, Huddersfield, Aldershot, Swindon, and Hull. In Germany, Cologne, and Benelux. And in Poland, we have a small satellite office. And then in the local context for South Africa, we have our head office in Johannesburg, where we have 137 staff, and then in Cape Town, 33. So we take a brief look at our core markets and the areas that we service. We address 3 key market segments: residential, commercial, grid-tied and storage, and then SADC, which is headed up by Mike in terms of the spearheading the strategy. And this includes Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Eswatini, Mozambique, Tanzania, and Malawi, and incorporates the basket of products, which is made up of off-grid, residential, CNI, as well as utility scale. Some of our key services, we've got stock holding in our West Rand, East Rand, Cape Town, Durban, and PE facilities. There are options for same-day collections or next day. You can also have deliveries facilitated, pre- and post-sales technical support from our in-house team. One of our awesome software tools is our kit builder. We usually offer a live demo of this tool on some of our training events. It offers you the best price guaranteed. It's a one-click result, so it's very simple and it's complete and accurate. It's super speedy. It gives you a price fix for a period on the particular kit in question. And that really encompasses one of the amazing features of our portal, which has been developed with our installers in mind. If you haven't tried it out yet, you are missing out. So please feel free to navigate through to that. From myself, that is a wrap.
Great. Thank you very much, Paul, and thank you very much for keeping it very short and sweet. We now would like to turn to the meat, i.e. the discussion that we have today, which we hope that it will be as interactive as possible. And of course, if the audience have questions, we're also very happy to take that at the very end. So as mentioned already, COVID-19, the fall through from that and the war in Ukraine has had a very, huge impact throughout the globe. I'd like to explore, perhaps I could start with Rena, just to find out how the supply chain disruptions are affecting solar projects in Africa. So if you could elaborate on some of the problems that's been faced by AMT and how you've overcome some of that challenges on the logistics side of things.
Thank you, Gurmeet. So since the halting of port operations in Ukraine,
we're having some trouble hearing you. If you could just maybe speak closer to the mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's a bit better.
Could I my video?
Okay, maybe try that. It might improve the sound.
What about now?
Oh, yes, much better. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So like I was saying, since the halting of port operations in the Ukraine, the search for alternate trade routes for Ukraine goods has rapidly increased the demand on land and maritime transport infrastructure and services. For Ukraine's trading partners, many commodities now have to be sourced from further away. So this has increased global vessel demand and the cost of shipping around the world. Higher energy costs have led to higher marine bunker prices, increasing shipping costs for all sectors. Taken all together, these increased costs imply higher prices for consumers and threaten to widen the poverty gap. Another point on this, Gurmeet, is that there were massive breakages in key links in global supply chains during and after the pandemic, with issues including, among many other things, route congestion and blockages, manufacturing shutdowns, a deficit of skilled labor, a global shortage of key logistics components, including shipping containers, a lack of space in warehouses, a spike in transportation costs, and substantially increased demand for goods around the world post-lockdown. As a result, countries have been looking at ways to relink broken chains. So at AMT, we ensure that we are well prepared with unpredictable delivery routes to remote installation sites, working closely with on-ground partners that are equipped with both knowledge and transportation routes and country-specific import and export restrictions. That will be key to ensure cost-effective fulfillment of solar materials between factory and plant site.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for some of that insights, Rena. And Paul or Michael, I'll be interested in your views as well. How have you seen, the war and the COVID aftermath impact logistics in your company or, some of your customers, and how have you dealt with those challenges?
Mike, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. I think on both, obviously on COVID and the Ukraine debacle has created a lot of supply constraints from all the way to the components, the raw materials. So that's obviously delayed a lot of logistics, or not logistics, but delayed production, which obviously offsets against the issues faced in the logistics part of it. So it's something that we have greatly obviously committed with our suppliers. This is not the first issue that we're going to have. So it's something where we've strengthened our current suppliers and also looking for alternatives and better ways to service our markets and not have those delays creeping in. And as we know, it's all got to do with timelines. Everyone's taught by their project date. So it's something we stress very hard across our supply chains and with our suppliers. So it's something ongoing that we found within the market. I don't know, Paul, on your side?
Yeah, Gumit, if I can just offer one closing statement. So one thing that the conflict in Ukraine has shed a lot of light on is the requirement for a diversified energy supply chain. Cheaper renewables can definitely help lower collective dependence on fossil fuels, all the while creating clean and resilient electricity systems. So, that's the one major takeaway for myself personally, is to learn about the importance of the diversification.
Great, that's a very interesting point, and we can come back to that later on as well. I just wanted to get Tang Wen's views as well, because he did share his insights a bit earlier on about some of the constraints that's being faced in shipping. So can you give us your thoughts, Tang Wen, on how to deal with the shipping delays, and also how does one guarantee shipping space? Perhaps the LONGi experience would be very useful to our audience here.
Okay, thank you for the question, Gumit. I think for the first question about the delay, and as we know, after COVID-19, we facing the problems of the resources and the congestions, and also the operate efficiency have been lowered down pretty much in the port all over the world, and which causing the durations of the port to port have been extended a lot in no matter which routes, and that is kind of the delay we are facing right now. So how to manage this kind of delay? I think the first is we need to admit this kind of situation for now, and we need to define we need to define a new kind of standard duration, because for all the standard durations which providing by the carriers or the shipping lines, they're just calculating by the durations which is before the COVID-19. They are considering the shortest time of port to port, the normal operation efficiency in the port. So, and from us, from LONGi side, our colleagues is calculating all kinds of the durations, the actual duration from port to port for each route, which the information we will share with our customer to let them have to manage their expectation about the durations, such as just for example, if in the for the duration from Shanghai to Dubai is like around 30 days before, but actual if it's have been raising to 40, we will tell our customer that is kind of the situation right now. We need to make when we are doing the plans, the delivery plans, we need to consider in like 40 days. And also the second kind of the delay is the based on the new standard durations, we also maybe have some delays. And for now, we have a very good cooperation with our shipping lines and the freight forwarders. We have the daily monitoring about the status in transit, and we can do something like the pre-alert for the delays. We are asking them to give us some situation in the port in the transit, so on the prior port in transit, so that we can make some pre-alert, so that we can make not to give the surprise to our customer. This is mainly two ways we are managing the delays. And about the resources, it is a real situation in China is that actually since 2020 the shipping space is far away from enough in the market, so that is causing the cost increase, something like that. And also all the exporters in China, they are eagerly to get enough enough shipping space. And for our products, the panel modules, the volumes of our product is very big. And for in this kind of situation, we have the advantages and we have the disadvantages. And due to the huge volume, we are the important customer for no matter the carriers or the freight forward. And also due to the huge volume, when we have some sudden requirements, they are hard to fit with our requirements. So basically, we have two ways. First, we cooperate with different resources, like I mentioned, the carriers and the freight forward. We have some stable shipping spaces with our carriers. They will give us like maybe like 50 or something different quantities for each road in different lines, and that is the base space for us. So, and also if they cannot fit with us the requirements, we also can asking for the space with our freight forwarders. So we using different resources to cover. And the second is about the forecast. We have the strategy. Cooperation with our suppliers, so that we can making them the forecast in 1 month. So asking them to just to prepare the space for us in advance, and then to adjust by the forecast to ensure that we can have enough space when we have the goods to deliver. That's
okay.
all.
Great. Thank you very much for that comprehensive answer. Given time, I'd like to now move to a different theme to explore some of the financial impacts as a result of COVID and also the war in Ukraine. So as we've heard before, there's been a huge increase in pricing. So in terms of commodities and also other sort of aspects of financing of these projects. I'd just like to hear from some of the panelists what you are seeing are the financial impacts and the aftermath of COVID. And for example, are you starting to see that some of the projects that were planned are being cancelled or delayed because of the huge impact on pricing? And also, if you could comment on, just from your personal experiences, what kind of pricing you're currently seeing. And could I please ask Michael from SegenSolar to start? If you could just comment on this first.
Sure. Thanks, Kamit. So where we are, and obviously we're at the tip of Africa, where our base is, and looking to grow our footprint into West and East Africa. And we've seen obviously countries yo-yoing in and out of COVID. So that's also, we've had to plan our buying according to those specific regions where we still have a lot of storage into Nigeria. So that's something we have to take into account to continue our strategic buying in order to not fall short of stock for the Nigerian market, you could say. So we had to just be quite strategic on that. Secondly, further on pricing, we have seen obviously major increases in costs of components going up almost. I think in the last year, I think we've had 2 quite severe storage increases over double digits on both batteries and inverter types. So that's something obviously we've had to mitigate with regards to cash flow and generating. And obviously, with all of that comes is education and guiding our markets as to what's going on and informing them and understanding what they're going through in order to not fall into any supply gaps. And with that, the Africa being quite a lucrative market, or it's the next step in for a lot of solar companies. There's still a lot of opportunities where, yes, we've had COVID and obviously the Ukraine war that's going on. But where we see a lot of potential is to be a bit more proactive, whereby we start being a bit more, getting our products closer to these markets, so we don't have any delays. Where again we support a lot of countries, and if we're supplying into Zambia, there could be a lockdown with COVID through Zimbabwe, and there's this knock-on effect. So what we are looking at is obviously spreading our portfolio, our products across different regions in Africa to make our products more accessible to these markets, to drive down the costs of logistics, for third-party logistics for our customers, and overall support those products. So it's given us quite a lot of thinking and what to think about, and how do we mitigate any other risks that have been created through COVID and Ukraine, and how do we think about that going forward. And I think that's what's really interesting about the African market. It is pushing forward, a lot of dynamic things going on with regards to agri-solar, and that's a great space to watch. I think we've seen the exasperation of what Ukraine's done on the grain to Africa. So that's something that from us as a company we are focusing on, in order to see how we can get better solutions and a cost-effective solution for these rural communities. And that's all what we're about, is trying to drive that next step. And for us, it has been quite taxing. We spend a lot of time researching the markets, not only South Africa, but also the African markets, and pricing is always key. And how do we get the best price to our customers? And that's something that we, as a team, as a buying team, and sales team. So it's something ongoing, and it's something we still are trying to crack. But yeah, a lot of good work has come into it, and I think we're looking very forward to the future on that.
Great, thank you very much for that. I also hear there's been challenges in terms of financing the projects, because obviously lenders and the like are getting more concerned with the rising prices of commodities and some of the components. So I just like to get LONGi's view on this. Emeke, if you don't mind, could you comment on that, whether you're seeing any challenges in getting financing, and how do you overcome that?
Yeah, thank you very much, Gomet. This has been a persistent problem since COVID started. So let's take, for example, pre-COVID, the model price was sitting around, as FOB price, around 19-20 cents, all right? And at the height of COVID, you're looking at about north of 20 cents, 29-30 cents FOB. So when you see projects that go in at that price, considering that models constitute about 40 to 50% cost of the project, you can then imagine, understand how the impact that will have on the financial structure of each project. So yes, it has been a big problem. The waves we've been trying to ride in the past couple of years, and the main reasons or the main cause of these problems has been from the raw materials like this polysilicon prices that have gone up from, let's say, pre-COVID around $12 per kilogram to about $35 per kilogram at the height of COVID. Now we're sitting around $32 per kilogram. So you've seen about 200% increase on the cost of polysilicon, which is around 20% the cost of the models. It's and cost production of the model. So yes, that's just one aspect of it. My colleagues have talked about the impact of logistics, it's up to 700% price increase over because of COVID throughout the period. So how does that impact on projects? It delays projects basically because the financials doesn't add up because the sponsors would like to get the model price to a certain level before they can close. In terms of the banks themselves, the banks like certainty. So to the extent that we as a model manufacturer can give validity, long-term validity up to 6 months, which is not obtainable right now in the market, the banks will, tick that box. But what we can do, we found mechanisms in place where we can, to kind of manage the volatility of some of these issues, whether it's the silicon prices or the exchange rate, or whatever it is. So in a nutshell, I would say from a model manufacturer, we are more exposed to the COVID than the war. The war is more of opportunities, right? Because Europe is moving to other sources, trying to diversify away from Russian oil. So that's opportunity for solar. On the negative side is just some of the raw materials that are coming from Russia and Ukraine. I think Ukraine and Russia hold about 11% of aluminium globally. So that goes into making the models that impacts us. Then inverters as well, the semiconductors, etc. So it's a kind of always trying to manage the balance. But yes, we're trying. From the customer side, lastly, what we've seen from the customer is that they're delaying to sign contracts, right? They want to sign contracts closer to the date of execution so that they can monitor these prices, whether it's the model prices or the freight, the logistic prices. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you very much for that. And that sort of brings us neatly to the last theme, actually, that of legal, because with all this price escalation, customers and procurers are now buying at an all-time high. So are you starting to see different contractual structures or different sort of contractual clauses been drafted in so that there is at some point when the market resets and you get more competitive pricing, there are like price reduction clauses or some opportunity to reset the tariff, and also what kind of sort of risk mitigation is being taken by your suppliers because of these events? For example, are you seeing more force majeure claims being made or other kind of risk mitigation? I probably will start with Emeki and then I'll open it up to the other panelists as well to contribute to this topic.
Yes, in terms of the contract itself, the model supply contracts, initially there were multiple factors that would try to manage, like the prices of the polysilicon, the prices of the freight, logistics, and also the exchange rate. So what we did at that time, we'll insert what you call a price fluctuation mechanism in agreement with the customer as to how much threshold you can take. Let's say, for example, we'll take a 3% threshold. Wherever the price goes, we both take the hit. So if it goes against the customer, it takes the hit and vice versa. And when it goes beyond that threshold, then that kickstarts renegotiation of the contract, right? But currently, we only, as far as LONGi is concerned, we only do that for the exchange rate. So we removed the silicon and we removed the freight because we believe that the market has stabilized a little bit right now. What we see more as an issue from our side, to your point about your question around the force majeure, is in terms of delivery, right? So we found that there have been a lot of claims around delivery in the market. Not that we've experienced that, but we see that a lot with our customers. And the reason is that at times when there's an over demand of models, what customers don't really do, and this might be a word of advice, is to, as in your due diligence and your factory test, do determine or confirm the capacity of the supplier and confirm which factory will be supplying your project. And then try to understand use that and compare against your project schedule and see what capacity is available for your project. because what happens is that it's good to sign at a very good price or a low price, and then you get a knock on your door a month, a week or two before shipment, that either the price is going up or that there's no capacity for your production, and that derails your project largely and has a lot of consequences for you. So from that side, like I said in our presentation, LONGi 65 gigawatts globally. And what we do is we try to work with the customer and encourage the customer to sign the contract, at least, I'm talking about utility projects, yeah? Sign the contract 2 quarters ahead of time, right? Because that gives us time to book production, book capacity, and then lock in at that price for you as well, except for the exchange rate, which you have a mechanism to track. So I'll just leave it here for now.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. John, can we take 5 more minutes just for one last question and also to just answer a couple of questions from the audience? I
Who are
appreciate it.
available, then yes, of course, you have as many extra minutes as you want.
Okay, I think if everyone's happy to do so, we'll just have one last question and take a couple from the audience. Just a very quick one. One of the things that was mentioned was because of the shortages, there's been opportunities created as well. And I just wanted to explore in terms of local content, whether any of the panelists are seeing that there are new opportunities for the market in Africa because of, the shortages that you're getting globally. So perhaps I could turn this question to either Rena or Joseph, her colleague. If you could just comment on any local opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Gurmeet. So I will just give a few points based on the local content, and then I'll leave it to Joseph to end for me. So with regards to local content impact in Africa, in order to realize the potential of solar energy in driving inclusive and sustainable development, strong collaboration will be required from African governments, the private sector, the international community, and local and international financiers. So we've seen that in the sub-Saharan Africa, there has been tremendous solar power potential, which should enable the region to meet its energy needs in a sustainable manner. Another point is reliable transport and utilities infrastructure is vital in terms of ability of the logistics sector to scale up production for regional exports and to develop its manufacturing basis. And then I'm not sure, Joe, do you have any other points with regards to our local content impact in Africa?
Yes, I would say that there has been an upturn on local opportunities, especially, okay, it's not pertaining to renewables, but in the gas market, what we've seen is that instead of suppliers or companies reaching out to suppliers in Northern Europe and those areas, they are moving to African countries for their supplies. I think this would also have a great impact on cost. It would definitely reduce costs as production and supply increases. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. That's been very informative. We've had a number of questions. We obviously can't go through all of them on this call, but I was just going to pick one or two and perhaps the panelists could answer them. One question was directed to the Segen team. This is in relation to inverters. So the question is, how is the war in Ukraine, logistic challenges and chip shortage causing delays in inverter production? And what is the current lead time you're facing from manufacturers?
I'll take this one. Yeah, so I think in terms of component level, a lot of the major manufacturers on the global scale are dealing with the same issues. So we have seen some impact on the chip shortages for particular models within our portfolio. And although we have seen it playing a role, it hasn't been detrimental, so to speak. So we've tried to mitigate that as much as possible. We've got intimate relationships with our suppliers who are by default, for the most part, the manufacturers directly. So I think at the end of the day, all of your main components or the recognized components in the industry are coming from the same regions. So by default, those manufacturers are dealing with the same issues.
Great, thank you very much for that, Paul. One last question, and then I think we have to call the webinar to a close. This is in relation to PV module costs. And the question is, what is the expectation for PV module costs for the period between 2022 and 2025? So does anybody want to crystal ball gaze and give a view on that?
Yeah,
I'll be taking notes, Emeka.
Yeah, I think the operative word there is crystal ball, right? So if we look at the last 2 years, which is not a conventional period, we can see how volatile the prices have been. But what I can just say is looking at the last quarter or two, right, this year, and using that as a yardstick looking forward, is that we've seen some stability across board. And the polysilicon prices have stabilized a bit. The glass capacity as well, there's been some capacity added online in China. We've seen some of the BOM materials also becoming more available. That's indication of China coming out of COVID. And I would say the prices, will be depending on a number of factors. So it depends on global renewable policies. So as Europe is having huge demands at the moment, we see more high pressure on the capacity in China, which holds 80% of the global manufacturing, and that we see should be continuing to the middle of next year. But we expect the prices to start stabilizing, if not coming down from next year, right? Why? Because because of the intervention of the Chinese government on the polysilicon side, there have been some added capacity from that side. So the supply will be more, and that should filter through the module price. But just in adding to that is also the technology is evolving, right? So which as far as the utility projects are concerned, we should see more the optimization at the cell level, leading to high efficiency or better efficiency, which translates to a lower cost of energy for our customers. So it's not just focusing on what is the cost per watt, but it's also looking at what is the efficiency of the technology of the of the model, I would say.
Great. Okay, thank you very much for that. That's been very informative indeed. We've come to the end of the session. I'd like to thank the panelists very much for the very informative session, and the audience as well for all your questions. I hope you found that interesting. We've just to wrap up, we've heard some suggestions on how to manage the logistic challenges. We've heard about the financial impact and how that also presents opportunities for more local content and development within Africa. So you can look at different ways of reducing costs. And we've also heard some suggestions on how you can manage the contractual risk and some of the innovative contracting structures that are coming up, having price fluctuation clauses in your contracts, etc. So with that, I'd just like to wrap up and hand back to John to do the final words. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gurmeet, and thanks to all the panelists today. It was indeed a very interesting discussion. Too many questions from the crowd that we could not necessarily handle, but fear not, if you have submitted those questions through the Q&A section, we are able to share those questions with all our panelists today, and they will then be able to follow up with you more individually by email. So before I really close everything and I give you a few more minutes to submit some last questions, I would like to also tell you a little bit about future events, because we are very, very productive this year with tons of webinars, but also some physical events coming back. And the first one is actually called ARIS, which stands for Africa Renewables Investment Summit. It will take place in just a few weeks, in 3 weeks, in Cape Town. And the topic, as the name says, will be focusing on creating a platform for developers to meet with investors, with lenders, and with all other stakeholders that are involved really at this stage of financing projects of all kinds. It's not only solar energy, it's really everything renewable energy. We have a stellar lineup of speakers. We have some amazing companies joining and gathering in Cape Town at the end of the month. And so I hope that many of you listeners will also be able to join us then. Another event a little bit later in October will be one of our webinars in the webinar series Startup Energy, in which we will focus on African startups that are manufacturing in Africa with African customers inside. So very, very interesting lineup of speakers there, very innovative solutions that are really like African focused. With very smart and motivated entrepreneurs. I hope you will be able to join as well. And then finally, at the end of October, we are targeting a very niche market, yet super interesting opportunity for Africa, which is floating solar. We have some of the leading companies that have worked on floating solar projects, on the future floating solar projects in Africa already, that will be joining us and tell us a little bit about the opportunities, which are huge, but also about some of the challenges that need to be overcome. This is it for the coming months. Once again, I would like to thank Gurmeet for accepting the invitation to moderate today. You've done a wonderful job, as always, and also a big thank you to our panelists who made some time to share some insights on this specific topic. And finally, also, I would like to thank all the listeners who made some time to join us today and to participate in the conversation. I hope you had a great time, and I look forward to welcoming you again very, very soon. Thank you.